What happened on the play, the big DK Metcalf touchdown that we just played? What was Zolak right or was he a big dumbass? What happened?
No. I mean, well, both can be true. Yes. No.
Yes.
Look, it was a coverage bust. He's absolutely right. They had checked to this all-out blitz coverage, wherein the defensive backs basically are supposed to sit at the line to gain and look at the quarterback, understanding, hey, everyone else is going to blitz him. We'll sit here and break in any sort of short throw. And Seattle, even though the Patriots checked to this, expected either the coaches or the players to call this at some point and had the perfect answer for this, which says, okay, cool, you want to sit at the line of gain 5 yards away. We will send DK Metcalf as fast as possible from the slot straight up the field, and that will be where we're going to throw the ball because we're going to protect this up in a way that you don't expect.
All right, and there was a what's the story around this, Andrew? Is this the play that you were talking about with the Belichick thing?
Yes. So this I didn't realize until yesterday diving into the film, and this is kind of like I would say a fun fact, but a little bit cruel to folks who are listening here. And the basic premise is whenever a defense runs an all-out blitz, right, you are going to have one more rusher than they can block. Because once the quarterback takes a snap, he's throwing to or being blocked by 10 players. That's it. The defense goes, okay, we will cover all 5 receivers one-on-one, and then we'll have 6 blitzers for your 5 offensive linemen. So how do you solve that? Well, the Patriots, ahead of this divisional round game they lost at Denver back in January 2006, they go for the three-peat. They lose to the Broncos. Had to solve this problem because Denver was really, really good with these all-out blitzes. So Belichick, back then, and this is told by Dominique Foxworth, who played on that Broncos team last year, said, we'll have a receiver who splits out wide, and the Denver will do their thing, and they'll set up, send one more rusher, except at the snap, this receiver will come over and block the defensive end that we're going to leave all alone. So what that'll do will even up this numbers advantage that Denver has because we take a receiver who's being covered and have him block someone, which means his defender is kind of in no man's land.
Right, exactly, because he's a corner or that's following the receiver and then
not rushing.
Not rushing. So he's stuck just 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage with nothing to do. Exactly.
And what this does is it lets the quarterback have an extra second because eventually, like that guy who's covering the receiver, who's no longer a receiver but blocking, will be like, oh, okay, I'll just join the rush. But in that extra second, you don't have to throw a slant or a swing pass or a pass in flat. You can go downfield. And so the Patriots use this scheme, still lost to Denver, but the week after, Denver hosts the AFC Championship game, and they play the Steelers. And Bill calls up Pittsburgh, according to Bill Cowher, says, hey, what do you want to know about Denver? And they used this same scheme, except not with just a rinky-dink, whatever receiver the Patriots had that year, with Hines Ward, who will block anybody and beat the Broncos in Denver, go to the Super Bowl, and they win in Detroit, as I'm sure, Fred, you remember.
Oh, yes, absolutely. A very much maligned Super Bowl victory against the Seattle Seahawks. People thought that Seahawks were unfairly penalized in that game, if you recall. Why? Yeah. How often? Why did Belichick call Cowher? Like, what was his deal against Denver? What was it? What
I
like?
have no idea.
Yeah, like what's going on with Belichick? You cover the NFL? How often are these coaches calling each other and giving each other pointers? Doesn't that seem odd to you?
Well, it does if they're outside of the same families,
right? Exactly.
And we know Belichick and Shanahan have utmost respect for each other. They're on the record like, oh, the hardest defensive coach I've gone against. No one gave me more problems than Mike Shanahan. Yada yada. I don't think Belichick and Cowher had that same relationship. It was probably, as he said in the last segment, just a Hall of Fame petty person. And that's Bill. And it worked for him. And he got to squeeze every bit of juice out of that orange so long as he was coaching. I think it was just, they beat us. F them. Here's a scheme. And it worked. And it was the same one that Seattle used 2 days ago on that play to Metcalf. Because, again, that's a longer developing route. Geno Smith had time. They used that blocking scheme and got the touchdown.
It just seems like ego-wise, I would go the opposite way.
I want the team that beat me to be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, see? Like, turns out they could end up beating everybody.
Maybe the handshake was not as firm as he would have liked. After all, his father was in the military. He loves the Navy, but he could have easily joined the Navy, but he chose just to worship it from afar. Every time someone says, oh, his dad was in the Navy, he's like, he grew up around the military. Well, then why didn't he join the military if he loves the Navy so much?
Maybe he had flat feet.
My father had flat feet. Among a bunch of other issues. 6 balls.
Wow.
All right, Andrew Callahan, since we're talking about Bill Belichick.
And odd that he would end up with only one kid with all that extra sperm being produced.
That hip game was on fire. Oh, yeah. And it doesn't, more of them doesn't equate to more of what you just said.
Oh, is that right? Oh, I
You'd
didn't know that.
you'd be interested to find out.
So have you learned that at Northeast Men's Health also? Extra testicles don't necessarily mean you're going to have more children?
No, I learned that from my favorite adult film, E.T.
That's right. E.T. had. God, how many testicles did he have?
He would phone home and he'd go, what's going on here? That's how you knew he was an alien, in the shower.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah. They didn't know E.T. Then they wanted to cut him open and see why he had 6 balls.
Yeah, it didn't stand for extraterrestrial.
No, it's the whole thing. Andrew
Extra testes.
Andrew Callahan. Listen, why will Bill Belichick, who's doing all this media now and is terrible, except to football writers somehow find him fascinating? I don't. I think he's boring, and the audience has voted by not watching it because the ratings are very low from the Manning cast, despite the charismatic personas of the two Mannings. Do you think he's going to coach again? For instance, just to give you a little bit, I was listening to WFAN yesterday as a Jets fan, but they were against I emailed them to tell them about this, but they were talking about the Giants. And I didn't like that because I didn't want to hear that, so I emailed them and yelled.
Sure.
As our listeners do to us when we're speaking about something they don't want to hear at that time. And they're like, call Belichick, get him on the phone right now. And to that I would say, what are you, an idiot? The Giants are a long way away from competing. Why would you want an old-ass head coach that just blew himself out of town and going to make personnel moves? Cowboys or something like that, I guess I understand. Do you think he'll coach again?
Yes. Yes, I do. I think this is going to work. Ultimately, I know he wants to coach again. This is why he's doing it. Bill O'Brien said it earlier this month. I think he's getting ready to coach again. I mean, and I want to say this too. Whatever your critiques are of the media part, when I was covering him as a football coach, I both could look at the guy, understand he's being petty, short, gruff, whatever, and appreciate the brilliance that was in front of me. I got the Super Bowl in the first season. Right.
No, but the media says he's good on TV, which he's not. And that's the thing. You can admire him as a coach, and I do too, obviously. But he's terrible on television. Go ahead.
Yeah, and the same way with Brady, not particularly good in that first game.
He won't be.
Better against the Saints. But he's not doing this all-out blitz to be as visible and as personable as possible, except to be on the screen when, let's say, for example, Robert Kraft, an owner, was, as he said, on the treadmill last November doing the McAfee show, and McAfee pops up because McAfee's everywhere. So Bill's on the McAfee show. He's on YouTube. He's doing the Manning cast. He's doing all these things to shed the 72, 73-year-old guy, gruff, why do I want to work with him? Over the next 4 months, he's trying to build up this, that's not who I am. You've seen me. You've heard me. I'm laughing. I'm cutting it up. I'm teaching you something. You should want me to be your next head coach, whether it's in Dallas, Philly, Giants, or wherever.
You can't erase 35 years of behavior in 4 months. That's one thing. But the other thing is, and I've told these guys this too, the rules haven't changed. He's still going to want some measure of control wherever he goes. He's not there for a rebuild, and that narrows his job possibilities significantly. We're back down to where we were last year. Dallas, if they fail again, Philadelphia, if they fail, and who else?
So I don't see it that way. I see it as a guy who loves football more than any other person on the planet, and then by extension will do anything to get this wins record, to stand alone. He's accepted as the greatest coach of all time. That's the only thing left in his way from it being written as fact for the rest of eternity. So he also has the ego of someone who won 6 Super Bowls as a head coach and 2 more as an assistant and goes, I don't care if it's the Giants roster and I have to keep Daniel Jones and it's in my contract until Daniel Jones quits. I will make this work. Because he doesn't think
no way. He's not that dumb. You're telling me he's going to come back to go 7 and 10?
No, he'd take the job. My point is, why would the Giants hire him? Yeah, he'd take it because he wants that wins record. I understand. But I understand why he'd take the job.
I don't know why he takes that job if he wants the wins record.
Because it's the only one available, and it's the only way he's going to get wins. You can't win with if you're not coaching.
And he thinks he'll do a better job than any of us do, and he might be right. But as far as the personnel goes, too, there's good reporting around this at ESPN that says he was at least expressing that he was willing to work with Atlanta and keep some people on, which they knew and were afraid of being steamrolled in the first 4 months.
Is that the shadow general manager over there? I forget his last name. He's one of those football families. McKay had the ear of Arthur Blank, who Bill Belichick insulted last night.
If you're a team, you have to hire Belichick and all of his cronies, and then when he's done in 3 years, blow it up and start over again?
Oh, good.
Who are the good teams in the NFL right now?
Ooh. The Saints are up there, no question.
Are you sold on them?
Not as a championship contender, but making the playoffs, sure. Like they're what they're doing, and this is not totally sustainable, is taking a lot of low-hanging fruit. Meaning Derek Carr had the lowest rate of passes last year that were screens or play action passes. Generally not like cheat codes, but easy yards. Just take him. He's not a guy you can put the whole offense on his shoulder and say, lead us to victory, take us to the Super Bowl. You need to give him that low-hanging fruit. They're eating it now, and it's sweet and it's working. The Bills are good, no doubt in my mind. I think you go to the Central, like we know the Steelers are going to be like, or the Central, the North, 9-8.
Yeah,
they're hanging around. They're going to be a tough out. Houston's really good. I still think struggle with the Bears, but they got the win. And otherwise, we're going to find out. Like the NFC is a mess right now. Chiefs, yeah, of course.
Okay. Belichick was talking about. I heard him talking about in one of the 5,000 things he does. He was talking about the Saints, and he was saying in a backhanded way they're too old. He's like, it's interesting because they have the oldest roster in the NFL, and a lot of people think that if you're too old, you'll falter at the end of the season. If you're too young, you won't start strong.
So I didn't hear it that way. I heard it as that's smart, and that's smart not just because they're 2-0. That's what I used to do.
Ooh,
the Patriots annually were one of the oldest rosters in the league, and this was not like the Brady bump, right? Or Matthew Slater still somewhere in the back, so his 36, 37 years counts. This was I'm looking at middle-class veterans, 1 or 2 year deal, cheap. You'll know the system. You can bounce around, play different positions. That will be my edge because you're cheap and you can outperform your contract more easily than a guy coming in who's 25, 26, going to break records in free agency. That's how we built this team. Older guys who would do what he said and knew what they were doing.
Oh, that's interesting because he did say they're old. They have the oldest roster in the NFL, and that a lot. And people think that you'll wear down by the end of the season. I mean, he said that, but maybe he was it was a backhanded way. I don't know. He kind of coached it with it really did sound coached it. I don't know if that's right. Couched it with he really did make it sound like a negative. But listen, Jim Gray was interviewing him, so what do you want out of him? Jim Gray, who will play maybe a little bit of, is it's like nails in a chalkboard, that guy's voice. Oh, boy.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.